The Spider-Man movies have brought the wall crawler's rogues gallery to life in spectacularly good and bad ways over the past few decades, but really, they've only barely scratched the surface of Spidey's big bad guys. Now, I must admit there have been some bending of the rules for this list, as some of the names here have made cameo appearances in the movie so far. However, they only showed up in civilian form rather than their most famous alter egos, and as such, I think was still fair game for this list. So, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 essential Spider-Man villains not yet used in the movies. Number 10, Spencer and Alistair Smythe. Spidey fans of a certain age will remember Alistair Smythe as the wheelchair-bound scientist from the classic 90s Spider-Man cartoon. There, he was a tragic villain who wrongly blamed Spidey for the death of his father and underwent one of the most traumatic character transformations in cartoon history when he was forced into a cybernetic body against his will. Spidey fans from a younger generation will likely not remember Alistair Smythe as the bespectacled suit from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. There, his sole role was to kickstart Electro's transformation by ordering hapless flunky Max Dillon to perform risky maintenance near a task of MacGuffin-powered electric eels. After Electro appears proper, Smythe disappears from the movie, ceding the stage to a far less interesting villain. So yeah, great work with that one, Sony. And honestly, the script for this guy kinda writes itself. Introduce his father Spencer as a prologue villain, kinda like the dude who shoots Uncle Ben in Spider-Man 1, have Spidey inadvertently bump him off, and allow Alistair to step in as the main villain. Yeah, it's a little cliched, but hey, you kill my father, prepare to die is classic storytelling. Number 9, Spot. Another alumni from the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, Spot vs. Spider-Man has the potential to be one of the greatest cinematic dust-ups of all time. I'm not kidding. Alright, I'm kidding a little bit. Or am I? See, Spot's power is the ability to open portals on any surface, including his own body. He's essentially a walking portal gun, and as such is the perfect summer blockbuster henchman. And yeah, that's right, I said henchman, because not every villain is capable of carrying a movie on their own, and Spot's personality is as thin as his polka dot portals. But every good villain needs a dragon to put in the hero's way, and Spot could play that role with aplomb. All Spot needs to do is give Spidey one good fight, and with the right talent involved, that fight should be very good indeed. I mean, Spider-Man Does Portal is a concept brimming with potential, and with the right choreographer and director behind it, Spot vs. Spider-Man could be a landmark moment in action movies. Again, am I kidding? You'll never know. Number 8, Punisher. Who doesn't love a good hero versus hero punch-up? In all seriousness though, pitting the Punisher against Spidey works on multiple levels. It's a nice nod to their comic book history. I mean, the Punisher debuted in Amazing Spider-Man 129, and their polar opposite attitudes to crime fighting make them natural enemies, and most importantly, it means Jon Bernthal can finally return to the role he was born to play. Bernthal's performance as Frank Castle was an undisputed highlight of Marvel's doomed alliance with Netflix, and seeing him don the Punisher's iconic bulletproof vest once again would be incredibly gratifying. Bernthal has already proven that he's a good enough actor to make the Punisher interesting, even without the level of violence usually associated with the character. I mean, after all, it is a bit hard to imagine Sony or Marvel allowing point-blank shotgun executions in a Spider-Man film after all, but still. Giving him the opportunity to shine on the big screen alongside everyone's favourite wall crawler would be a hell of a way to say, welcome back, Frank. Number 7, Mr. Negative. One of the things which makes Spider-Man so relatable is that of all the big-name Marvel heroes, he's the one focused on street crime. While the likes of Captain America, Iron Man, and the Fantastic Four almost exclusively fight supervillains and cosmic deities, Spider-Man is more likely to be found stopping muggings than battling homicidal aliens, though he has, in fairness, fought plenty of homicidal aliens. And with Into the Spider-Verse already using Kingpin brilliantly and Tombstone poorly, the stage is clear for Mr. Negative to swoop in and become the next addition to Spidey's cinematic canon. The massively popular Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4 introduced the dual-natured gangster to the mainstream audience, giving him huge name recognition for a relatively new villain. His photo-negative appearance would look remarkably striking on screen as well, especially if he appeared in an animated movie like the aforementioned Into the Spider-Verse. Given how good he looked on the PS4, Sony's animation department should have a field day with him. Actually, now I think about it, Mr. Negative would make a great villain for Spot to work for in a Spider-Verse movie. Well, there you go, Sony. There's the plot of Into the Spider-Verse 3 done and dusted for you. You're welcome. No need to thank me. Number 6, Mulan. Mulan makes his way onto this list purely on the strength of his elevator pitch, that being Spider-Man fights the Terminator. See, Kyle Reese's iconic speech describing the Terminator's MO fits Mulan to a T. Mulan is a parasitic energy vampire that can't be reasoned with, bargained with, doesn't feel pity or remorse, and absolutely will not stop until his target is dead, or, if we're continuing with the allegory, terminated. The concept of a powerful foe hunting Peter Parker across New York would make for a genuinely unique Spider-Man film. Anyone who has ever been bullied at school could easily identify with Peter's struggle as he tries to escape Mulan, a physical powerhouse who knows the rules don't apply to him and revels in it. Watching Peter turn the tables on his villain in the final act would be immensely cathartic as an experience. Number 5, Black Cat. It is insane, absolutely insane, dear viewers, that after over 20 years of Spider-Man movies, Black Cat has yet to have a single flirtatious exchange with Spider-Man. Much like Alistair Smythe, Felicia Hardy was another wasted character in the inaccurately titled The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mean, there was an Amazing Spider-Man 2 film, but it wasn't called that. I mean, who the hell reimagines Black Cat as the PA of Harry Bloody Osborn? Felicia Hardy may have started life as a blatant Catwoman ripoff, but she has evolved into a great character in her own right. With a wealth of history and character development to draw on from the comics, she's been everything from Spidey's lover to one of his fiercest enemies, so any adaptation of Black Cat has a lot of straws to spin into gold. And for the most part, that's what's happened. From the tragically short-lived Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon to a whole host of video games, Felicia Hardy has been a regular highlight of any Spider-Man adaptation that she's appeared in, which sadly doesn't include the films. Put simply, Black Cat has already shown her worth in every other field of entertainment, so it's time to let her shine on the silver screen as well. Number 4, Chameleon. With Far From Home's Mysterio showing the benefits of waging psychological warfare on everyone's favourite webhead, the stage is now set for Chameleon to show how a true master manipulator gets stuff done. Chameleon may not have the flashy powers or brute strength of Spider-Man's other adversaries, but he's the best at what he does, and what he does best is creepy as all hell. Dmitry Smirdakov is a master of disguise who's so good at his job that he's practically a shapeshifter. Able to impersonate any person on the planet, Chameleon can take on any role and insert himself into the life of any victim, manipulating them to his own needs. He's essentially the walking embodiment of catfishing, and is just as big a scumbag as that description implies. And yes, it's true that Dmitry did make an appearance in Far From Home as one of Mysterio's flunkies, but he was so far removed from his comic book counterpart that he may as well have been a different character entirely. Which, given his nature to be fair, is actually kind of brilliant when you think about it. Number 3, Boomerang. Everyone loves a good odd couple bromance, and couples don't get much odder than friendly neighborhood frenemies Peter Parker and Frederick Myers, aka Boomerang. Boomerang may play second fiddle to DC's Captain Boomerang in terms of public recognition, but with the Captain recently bowing out of the DCEU, the time seems ripe for Marvel to unleash Fred Myers on the cinema-going public. On a more serious note though, Boomerang is one of Marvel's greatest ever attempts at character rehabilitation. The previously one-note villain was given a much-needed dose of personality in 2013's Superior Foes of Spider-Man series, emerging as an opportunistic jerk with the heart of, well, just more jerk really. He is, however, an extremely entertaining jerk, and his on-again, off-again friendship with Spider-Man has been a highlight of the recent run of Spidey comics. We've all had that one friend we really shouldn't hang out with, but it's so much fun that we just can't bring ourselves to break away from them. Watching that relationship play out on screen with Spider-Man and Boomerang would provide the basis for an enjoyably quirky superhero movie, much like Superior Foes was one of the previous decade's most enjoyably quirky comic books. Number 2, Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin may seem like an odd choice of villain for this list. I mean, after all, we're talking about a character here who's never been seen as more than a second-rate Green Goblin knockoff. Not to mention that his backstory is such a confusing mess that the Hobgoblin persona itself has been adopted by no fewer than 8 different people, one of whom was the butler of a previous Hobgoblin. However, it's precisely because of those qualities that Hobgoblin would make a great villain for a modern Spider-Man film. With the real world becoming increasingly swayed by charismatic lunatics, having a group of villains inspired by the Green Goblin's insanity does seem appropriate. For instance, a movie about a gang of Hobgoblins who preach alternate facts about the Green Goblin on social media and commit acts of violence in his name would feel particularly resonant given today's political climate. Number 1. Kraven. Fans of everyone's favourite webhead have been clamouring for Kraven to make his cinematic debut for years. However, even Kraven's most strident supporters were shocked when Sony announced that Sergei Kravanov's first movie outing would see the Hunter headlining his own film. Kraven the Hunter is one of Spider-Man's most iconic villains, and for very good reason. Kraven's The Last Hunt storyline is still held as a watershed moment in comics, with the Hunter's final battle against Spider-Man offering one of the most poignant tragic denouements in the history of the medium. Most adaptations of Kraven, though, have fallen woefully short of the mark, with various video games and TV shows portraying Sergei Kravanov as nothing more than an egomaniac with a Russian accent. If the 2023 movie, though, manages to imbue Kraven the Hunter with the depths he's shown in the comics, he could become incredibly popular. Or Sony might just screw it up and Kraven will end up on the same bracket as Yellow Jacket, Whiplash, Malekith, and all of the other bargain bucket Marvel movie villains, so yeah, please don't do that, Sony. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about these characters making their proper big screen debut, and which villains would you like to see star in a Spider-Man film? While you're down there, could you please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't, though, I've been Josh. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.